One of the things that Chris and I talked about was his lack of a doesn't need a change up. So that was one of the things that developing that pitch because he has those two different sliders. He has that one that's kind of a short break, kind of looks like a cutter, and there's one with a sweeping action. And so I don't paired up with a changeup and a fastball too. There he has. Yeah, a change up to his repertoire. I mean, that's a pretty good combo. John, what about? I mean, in terms of Wilmer Flores, I know it's kind of he's new to you, but do you see him coming up as at all at some point in the by the summer?
Well, I think that could depend on if any more starters are moved, like Chris was talking about. I would honestly say hopefully not, because I do think this team has good enough depth. So you just hope injury wise they don't need him.
Good
Um,
point. Yeah.
yeah, I mean I would like to see him out of the bullpen. But I would say hopefully we don't see him until like September.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we are likely to see the carousel of starters in the 40-man roster get run through before we see Flores next year. So that includes, you mentioned, like Ronnie Garcia. We could see him start a game. They added Reese Olson to the 40-man, so he'll probably get a start before Flores. Um, but I would think Flores and Bergner are the next two who aren't on the 40-man who would be called up to start. And who knows? I mean, maybe Garrett Hill will get a start too. So I think that he's probably 4 or 5 starters away. But I think he's the most talented of all those guys. And the one thing we should point out though is now that they've added Boyd and Lorenzen, if they don't trade anybody, you've got a pretty full major league rotation at this point, right? You've got Eduardo Rodriguez, you've got Lorenzen, you've got Boyd, you've got Spencer Turnbull theoretically, and you've got Matt Manning, right? So you're pushing possibly Joey Wentz, Alex Faedo back to AAA. So those guys would then step in line. So yeah, without a trade, it would take another 2022 level disaster event to get Flores up to the big leagues. But again, like I was saying, he's probably more talented than all those guys.
Well,
His talent
do we?
level is similar to Wentz and Faedo, I would say.
You guys have seen him more. Is he talented enough to force their hand? I mean, could he have enough of a start through, let's say, 60 innings where they say, we got to get him up?
I think if he starts the way he did in Erie, then yes, because the biggest test for him was, I mean, he made short work of high A. I mean, he breezed through high A. And then keep in mind, too, this is, I mean, 19 innings in high A against really good competition, because this is when early on in the year before high A guys went over to double A. Then he goes to double A, where he's taking on, again, guys that are 5 or 6 years older than him. And after adjustment, he was doing really well, especially down the stretch in August and September, where Erie wasn't getting the consistent starts from Olsen they were getting before. I mean, you had Chase Kirby being the MVP there for the Seawolves towards the end of the season, and Flores is right there with him. I thought that Flores did a very good job of not showing that fatigue he showed in Wakeland the year before. And I think that he might force their hand if he gets off to the same start. The only thing that I'm concerned with is, again, we've talked about the soft body kind of thing. Like is he going to get leaner? Is he going to continue to grow? Whatever the case may be. But outside of that, it's to see the Tigers hit on somebody like this and to have a prospect with that kind of arm, it goes to show, again, whether it's the Vila, whether it's the scout, that in the last few years, the Tigers have found at least some sort of hidden gems, if you will. I mean, again, we couldn't say that before.